After 10 heartwarming minutes, this CO discovered an incredible truth about a little girl's plea. Jacob Taylor stepped out of his polished SUV, the night's gala lights twinkling around him like stars illuminating a galaxy of wealth. As the CEO of a top tech company, it was easy to forget the humble streets he once roamed as a boy. He'd come a long way from that small Midwestern town, but as he approached the grand entry of the venue, a tightening sensation rose in his chest. The chandeliers sparkled high above, crystalline beauty stark against the frayed edges of his memories. He was proud of the life he built, but the elegance shimmering beneath the gala's surface revealed a truth he wanted to ignore. Polished executives chatted in hushed tones, their laughter effortless, as fancy cars lined the driveway, a silent testimony to their success. They seemed far removed from the reality Jacob had known. As he stood before the opulent doors, he felt like an outsider in his own skin. Inside, he prepared to deliver his speech, words that promised hope and charity. Just as he began to compose his thoughts, a small figure appeared at his side. "Excuse me, Mr. Taylor?" The girl's voice was small but vibrant, her big brown eyes full of determination. Mia, with curly hair and a neon pink backpack, clutched a crumpled letter in her hand. "I wrote you this," she said, lifting the paper with a sense of pride. Jacob felt a flicker of irritation, annoyed at the interruption. But then he noticed the letter, the way her tiny fingers grasped it tightly, as if it held the weight of her world. Taking a breath, he bent down, curiosity overtaking him. "What is it about?" Mia's eyes widened, and she began speaking rapidly, her words tumbling out in a mixture of choked emotion and fierce passion. "My school doesn't have enough books or art supplies. We don't even have enough teachers sometimes. I was hoping, maybe you could help." As she spoke, a wave of discomfort washed over Jacob. Mia's plea was a stark reminder of the divide he had so skillfully ignored. He listened to her story, his heart tightening as vivid images flashed through his mind, classrooms bare of hope, while he sat in a world of abundance. The risks of challenging the status quo loomed like dark clouds, and murmurs from fellow guests echoed the indifference his heart couldn't bear. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." He watched as Mia's brows furrowed, deflating as she noticed his hesitation. But something called to him, a whisper of hope lingering in his heart, a pulse of change that begged to be awakened. That night, he made a bold decision to launch a fundraising campaign. Not just a project, but a movement aimed to restore the essence of education in Mia's underfunded school. Yet, as he stood among the beautifully dressed crowd, seeking support, he found the indifference of so many unbearable. The echoes of merit and hard work carved a chasm between him and those who struggled every day. Just when he was on the verge of despair, he met Ray, a battle-hardened veteran whose stories spilled the wisdom of hard-earned experiences. As Ray spoke of resilience and rebuilding communities, Jacob felt something shift in his chest, a small flicker of hope soaring above the gloom. The essence of this community would revive, fueled by the faith of both Mia and Ray. Just as he started to see a glimpse of what needed to be done, he locked eyes with the little girl again. Her unwavering belief stirred something deep within him. Yet Jacob couldn't shake the looming question that clung to him like a weight. Could he really transform his life into a vehicle of change? The night buzzed with conversation and laughter, but all he could think was, had the journey just begun, or had he stood idly by for too long? Jacob hesitated, the noise around him fading into a distant hum. Mia's hopeful gaze was fixated on him, her innocence piercing through the glittering facade of the gala. It felt like a spotlight was cast just on them, dimming the world of wealth and privilege that surrounded them. He glanced at the guests, who chattered and sipped their expensive drinks, seemingly unaware of the lives that hung in the balance outside their cocoon of comfort. Even Ray's voice, once a beacon of inspiration, now felt drowned in the dissonance of opulence. Jacob took a deep breath, thoughts racing in his mind like a storm brewing on the horizon. "Excuse me," he said to Mia, trying to sound firm but feeling a swell of softness. "I need to go talk to someone." Before she could respond, he stood up, clutching her letter. It wasn't just paper. It represented a call to action he finally couldn't ignore. At that moment, he was reminded of an unfulfilled promise he had made to himself back in those dusty classrooms of his youth, filled with memories of eager faces hungry for knowledge. Finding Ray again in the throng, Jacob felt renewed conviction. "Ray," he called, his voice steadier now, "I have an idea. I want to do something big, something that will push back against this indifference." Ray's eyes lit up with curiosity. "What do you have in mind?" "I want to not just fundraise, but raise awareness. We need to bring light to the realities of these kids. It should be personal, they should be seen and heard." "Sounds great, but you know this isn't easy. You're inviting a storm," Ray cautioned, his gaze serious but supportive. "Big changes come with big opposition." Jacob nodded, feeling the weight of truth in Ray's words. "I understand, but what's the alternative? To ignore it? To let it fester? That girl, Mia, her voice deserves to echo beyond that small school. If we can get people to see how far removed they are from the struggles and triumphs of those kids, then we can create change." As Jacob spoke, ideas swirled in his mind: fundraising events, social media campaigns, partnerships with local businesses. The possibilities were endless, each more compelling than the last. He could picture the community coming together, a movement igniting hope where despair had threatened to grow. "Let us do it," Ray replied, his voice thick with conviction. "You lead, I'll stand by you. We'll get this going." Jacob felt as if a new chapter in his life was unfolding before him. It was time to put his money and influence where his heart had longed to be. But as the adrenaline surged, doubt still crept in. What would the other executives think? What if they rejected him? Suddenly, Mia was by his side again. Her little hand tugged on his sleeve, and he squatted to meet her eyes. "You're really going to help, right? I believe you will." Her belief, her unwavering faith, shattered Jacob's lingering fears. "Yes, Mia, I will," he promised, sealing that vow with a resolute nod. That resolve ignited something in the air, a shift that felt electric. Yet as the night wore on and the gala continued, Jacob sensed the opposing currents of cynicism circling around him, eager to drown him in a tide of naysayers. His heart raced with anticipation and trepidation, the stakes suddenly feeling cosmic. As he looked toward the future, the uncertainty loomed just as heavily as hope. Could he really spark a change amidst the comfort of inaction? The quest to transform not just his company, but the world's perception of education had begun. But just as he prepared to leap into action, Jacob overheard a conversation that sent a chill down his spine. Who's really going to care about some little kids in a rundown school? A voice dripped with contempt, barely audible above the laughter, yet loud enough to strike a nerve. Jacob's heart sank. What would it take to shake off the shackles of apathy? As he contemplated this, a fire began brewing inside him, determined to rise up against that chilling doubt. The road ahead was daunting, but with Mia by his side and the whispers of change all around him, he finally understood one thing. Every journey starts with a single step. What if he added a voice to that journey, a voice that could drown out the cynics? Would that be enough to shift hearts? And just as the thought settled in his mind, Jacob knew in that moment the next step had to be taken. But would the doubts of the elite keep pulling him back into silence? As adrenaline mixed with anxiety, he glanced at Mia and steeled himself for the fight ahead. How far would he be willing to go to ensure a brighter future for Mia and so many like her? Jacob stood at the edge of the gala, his pulse quickening as he grappled with the voices of doubt that echoed like hollow drums in his mind. But even as the whispers of the elite swirled around him, he could still feel the warmth of Mia's small hand on his arm, a calming reminder of why he had come here tonight. The weight of her expectations, far heavier than any designer's suit, anchored him in a way that ignited his purpose. With resolve fueling his movements, he turned back to Ray, who stood with eyes wide and ready. "Let us take it public," Jacob declared, his voice rising above the murmur of pricey cocktails and laughter. "We need to show the world who these kids are, what they can achieve." Ray nodded, a smile breaking through. "You mean like a community showcase?" "Yes, an event where we spotlight their talents, their stories. We invite the community, local businesses. We make it an experience, not just a fundraiser. If they see the kids themselves, their lives, they can't ignore them. Ray's enthusiasm mirrored Jacob's. That could be powerful, but you'd need more influence. We'd have to reach out to key figures, get them invested. Then let us start now. I have contacts. We can craft a message that resonates. Jacob almost felt buoyant, as if he could fly above the gilded room, above the stares and assumptions. He could see it clearly, a night filled with performances, art displays, anything that showcased the vibrancy and resilience of Mia and her peers. The vision danced in his mind, pushing back against the darkness of indifference. Before we can move forward, you'll need to address the board, Ray reminded him. Jacob faltered for a moment, remembering the cold glances and dismissive attitudes of fellow executives. People who would never understand the urgency of the cause, or the simple truth that education could change lives. What if they laugh? What if they shut me down? The doubt whispered into the spaces of his confidence. Then you show them. You show them with numbers, with passion. They will see what you see. Mia bounced back to his side, curiosity lighting up her face like fireworks. What is happening, Mr. Jacob? He crouched again, meeting her bright eyes. We are going to tell your story, Mia. We are going to make sure everyone hears you. Her smile widened, and without a word, Jacob felt like he had just been handed a small piece of the universe. But as he stood back up, that original doubt twisted painfully in his gut. He knew the board wouldn't just stand by. They would question, criticize, and reject. And what if Mia was watching when they did? Let us aim for next month, Ray said, as if reading Jacob's thoughts. We can gather stories, videos, share their successes and struggles, all of it. Jacob nodded, determined. This wasn't merely about statistics, but about creating a human bridge, allowing these children to voice their realities to a world that desperately needed to listen. Yet as the thoughts cascaded and swirled, another shadow crept in. Was he strong enough for this? Would they shun his ambition? Mia clutched the hem of his coat, breaking his spiraling thoughts. I believe in you, Mr. Jacob, she said earnestly. Her conviction was a lifeboat amid the tumultuous sea of doubts. It pulled him back, anchoring him into a realization. This battle was about more than business agreements. It was about belief, unity, and the dream of a fair chance for every child. All right, let us make it happen. I'll speak to the board tomorrow, he declared, adrenaline pumping through him like caffeine as he scanned the room, where laughter flowed like wine and problems faded in a haze of luxury. He felt his heart shift. Now it wasn't just about Mia anymore. It was also about every child who had ever felt invisible. But just as he prepared to step into this new world of advocacy, he heard another snide comment from someone across the room. Crash and burn. These kids will never matter. And with that, the flames of determination were reignited. He took a deep breath, feeling the heat of the battle ahead. This was not just his fight. It was a fight for every voice still trapped in silence. Time to start making noise. How far would Jacob go to make sure those voices were heard and not drowned out by disdain? The next step may just push him far beyond the comfort zones of his career and himself. Jacob's mind raced as he left the gala, the clinking of glasses and the faint laughter receding into the background. Ray's words echoed in his ears, urgent and insistent. He had to prepare. That board meeting loomed large, a mountain he had to climb. He could already picture the faces twisted in skepticism, their expressions a mix of disbelief and condescension. But tomorrow didn't just feel like a meeting. It felt like a chance to break the mold, to challenge the status quo entrenched in the polished walls of the executive suite. It was the first step toward giving voice to the voiceless. As he walked toward his car, Jacob glanced down at Mia, who was busy munching on a mini pastry, crumbs dusting her cheeks. She looked up at him, her eyes shining, blissfully unaware of the weight he was about to take on. Mr. Jacob? She asked, her mouth still half full. Are we really going to do this? He nodded, his heart swelling at her innocence and fierce belief in him. Yes, Mia. We're going to make them listen. She grinned, and for a moment, the world felt light. The next day, Jacob sat at the head of the long oak table, his palms sweating against the smooth surface. The board members filtered in, all dressed in tailored suits, the air thick with the scent of expensive cologne and impending judgment. All right, he started, clearing his throat to mask his nerves. I want to talk about something important today. As he launched into his presentation, he watched their expressions shift from boredom to confusion and then skepticism. Numbers and charts were met with crossing arms and furrowed brows. He spoke of Mia's story, weaving it with the statistics of systemic inequity, hoping to ignite a spark. Education is not just a luxury, it is a right. It can change lives. He pressed, his voice climbing with fervor. He felt the energy in the room shift, a pulse of unease. But just as he started to feel momentum building, a board member interrupted him. "Jacob, you really think these kids can make a difference? They don't even know how to play the game." It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. Doubts surged inside, threatening to undo everything. He opened his mouth, but the words caught. For a fleeting moment, he thought of Mia, her bright smile, her laughter echoing in his mind. Then, something inside him snapped. "They may not know the rules yet," he said, surprising even himself with the conviction in his voice. "But they know resilience. They know hunger, hope, dreams, and they know what it means to fight for a chance. I see it every day." He felt a ripple of surprise among the board. They weren't used to such emotion, such raw honesty. The silence hung thick, and for the first time, he could see the cracks in their indifference. But then the skepticism returned, sharper this time. "This is sentimental nonsense, Jacob. Numbers don't lie. And let us face it, hope doesn't fill bank accounts." Jacob gritted his teeth. He thought of Mia and all the children like her, of their struggle and potential. "I won't back down," he said firmly. "I believe in them, and I will fight for them. If that means risking my career, so be it. But I won't let anyone silence their voices." Suddenly, instead of fear pressing down on him, he felt a surge of empowerment. The truth was breaching the surface. Every child deserved to be seen, to have a chance to rise above their circumstances. The room was still. Then, someone chimed in, a voice soft yet clear, breaking through the tension. "If Jacob believes in them, maybe we should too." That simple remark sparked a ripple, and Jacob seized the moment. Had he opened a door? Had he stoked the embers of change? With the board's expressions shifting slowly but surely, he took a breath and pressed forward. But outside, the world continued to buzz with skepticism. Would they truly support his vision? Would his boldness inspire a movement, or just lead to more dismissals? As he walked out of that meeting, uncertainty gnawed at him, yet hope flickered stronger than ever. Tomorrow would be another step, the next move in this dangerous game of chance and choice. Could he turn the tide for Mia and the others? Jacob clenched his fists, feeling the weight of expectation. Then, without warning, he received a message on his phone. A video link titled, "Mia's Story, A Voice Unheard," illuminated the screen. What would the world think when they heard Mia's voice echoing through the digital realm? Would it stir hearts or create backlash? With a racing heart, Jacob opened it, bracing for the impact of what lay ahead. The video began to play, and Jacob's breath caught in his throat. Mia's face filled the screen, her big brown eyes wide with curiosity. He could feel his heartbeat quicken as he prepared to see her raw honesty laid bare for the world, for those who had doubted her, and every child like her. "Hi, my name is Mia," she exclaimed, flashing a smile that lit up the screen. "I want to tell you about my school and my friends. We are trying our best, but sometimes it's hard, really hard." As her voice flowed, Jacob found himself leaning in closer. He could see the little details that made her so special, how a tiny curl of hair fell across her forehead, the way her fingers fidgeted with the hem of her shirt when she spoke of the books she loved. "My teacher says we can change the world," Mia continued, her voice steady but soft. "But I need help. We all need help. I want to learn things. I want to dream." Her words carried a weight that shook Jacob to his core. He couldn't tear his eyes away from Mia's passion, her determination. This was not just a plea for attention. It was a lifeline for countless children who felt unseen. Every articulation of her struggle resonated with an urgency that rippled through him. Suddenly, the screen flashed to a montage of Mia in her classroom, surrounded by friends, kids laughing, playing, and sharing dreams of the future. The video then switched back to Mia. "If you are grown up, please help us so we can be what we want to be." Just then, the video cut to a static screen with a scroll of statistics. How many children dropped out of school, the percentage of youth without access to quality education, and a reminder of the harsh realities too often ignored by adults. Tears stung Jacob's eyes. As the statistics dimmed away, Mia's face reappeared, a portrait of sincerity glowing bright against the dark reality. I believe we can do it together, she concluded. Thank you for listening to my voice and so many others like me. The video ended, leaving Jacob sitting in silence, the computer screen glowing in the dim light of his office. Every word reverberated in his mind, igniting something deep within. She was a whispering revolution, a gentle force with a clarity that felt like thunder. He glanced at his phone, heart racing. There were notifications, responses pouring in from his colleagues and board members. Some were supportive, but others were already questioning the video's impact, dismissing it as just another story. As Jacob wrestled with frustration, Ray's message stood out. We can help Mia, but we must act fast. They need us to stand with them. The weight of responsibility settled heavier on his shoulders. This was no longer just about changing opinions in the boardroom. It was about igniting action and mobilizing resources to uplift voices like Mia's. He quickly typed a response, integrating the video link into his message. Sensing urgency, he gathered his notes and headed back to the conference room. He knew what he had to do. The meeting hadn't ended. It was far from over. Outside, the world felt charged with possibility. He could almost taste the fresh air of change rising as he walked. With every step, the questions loomed larger. How could he turn this moment into a movement? How could he rally support before it slipped away? Suddenly, a thought struck him like lightning. What if they could bring Mia and her friends to speak at an upcoming community event? If people could see their faces, hear their truths, would hearts begin to shift? Bursting with renewed purpose, Jacob entered the conference room. The board still sat scattered around, murmuring among themselves. Everyone, we need to talk, he announced, and all eyes turned toward him, curious and concerned. What worked yesterday might not be enough for tomorrow, he continued, voice firm yet trembling with excitement. It's time we listen to those whose voices we've overlooked. Let us invite Mia to share her story here. As he finished, a mix of reactions whirled around the room, some intrigued, others skeptical. Would they be willing to act? Could he push beyond their comfort zones? And just as he awaited their response, a voice called from the back, challenging him. But why should we care about one little girl's story? Jacob's heart raced again, his mind scrambling for a compelling answer. The question felt like a test, a challenge to rise, to defend what he believed in. We should care because one voice can change everything, he replied firmly, conviction rushing through him. With that, the air shifted. Would they join him in this fight for the future? Would they recognize the strength in Mia's vulnerability? As silence enveloped the room, hope flickered like a candle in the dark, waiting to be fanned into a flame. Jacob felt the weight of their silence, eyes darting around the table, searching for signs of support. He could see the wheels turning in their heads. Some looked puzzled, others skeptical, and a few began to openly ponder what bringing Mia in might truly mean. He sensed a flicker of potential among them, a spark just waiting to catch fire. Think about it, he pressed on, his voice steady and passionate. Mia isn't just one girl. She represents every child facing barriers that adults have placed in their way. By giving her a platform, we're not just giving her a voice, we're building a bridge for all those who feel stuck in silence. We can turn her story into a movement. Ray, seated nearby, leaned forward, his brow furrowing. But Jacob, how realistic is it to have Mia speak? This isn't just about a video. It's logistics, preparation. How do we frame this? Jacob felt the surge of determination rise within him. We start by believing her story matters. We create an event that elevates her voice and the voices of her classmates. We showcase their dreams and struggles as a community. A murmur passed through the group. Jacob seized the moment. Imagine inviting not just Mia, but other local kids, too. Let the community hear them speak. Let them share their visions. We may inspire others to act. Voices began to stir. What if we get the local press involved? Someone suggested hesitantly. Yes, press involvement will amplify the message. Jacob exhaled, encouraged. He could feel his heart beat faster, adrenaline coursing through him. But what if we fail? What if people see this as a gimmick? Another commented, uncertainty testing their resolve. Then we learn. But we owe it to Mia not only to take the chance, but to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. His words hung in the air, heavy with possibility. We can't let fear define us. What if this ignites another spark in the hearts of others? We could change the trajectory for these children. Faces began to soften, nods emerged, and sides softened. Jacob dared to meet the eyes of his colleagues one by one, willing them to see beyond the hesitations. Finally, Ray leaned back in his chair, contemplating. All right, let us see what we can pull together. But we need a solid plan and fast. Jacob felt a wave of relief wash over him. They were slowly warming to the idea. We can meet this week to hammer out the details. We'll make it hold meaning. It's time for Mia's voice to be heard. The tension eased a little, and there was a glint of eagerness. Enough to let Jacob kindle hope where there had been doubt. As they discussed specific dates, venues, and logistics, he sensed the energy change in the room. It felt more collaborative, like they were collectively stoking the flames of possibility. Jacob could already picture Mia standing in front of a crowd, her courage pulling others along the journey with her. Yet, even as ideas flowed, he felt a twinge of fear creeping in. Would they really be able to pull this off? What if Mia, full of expectation, would have her dreams dashed by the adult's indecision? Later, as the meeting wrapped up, he stepped outside, inhaling deeply, letting the cool air calm him. A whirlwind of emotions left him buzzing with anticipation. This could be the turning point they all needed. Then, suddenly, he paused. How could they ensure Mia's story resonated well beyond this event? What would it take to plant seeds of change that would flourish long after? With those questions swirling in his mind, Jacob climbed into his car, determination set on his face. He was ready for whatever was next. Even before he stepped up the hill toward Mia's school, he would meet the challenge head-on, driven by hope. There was something more significant at stake than just an event. This was about transforming lives. But as he drove off toward the unknown, he couldn't shake the feeling that greater trials awaited. As they said, the hardest battles often brought the most profound victories. Would he find the strength to keep going, no matter how steep the climb? Jacob parked his car just outside the school gates, a swell of anticipation pulling at his chest. The school loomed before him, its walls weathered yet vibrant, echoing the laughter of children playing in the sun. These were the same spaces Mia has trodden, where dreams and disappointments hung in the air like invisible threads. That he stepped out, taking a moment to gather himself. As he walked through the courtyard, kids rushed past him, their small feet kicking up the dust of possibility. Joyful voices rang out, but somewhere beneath that laughter lingered whispered realities. He wondered how many of them felt as trapped as Mia did, how many needed that same platform to soar. When he reached her classroom, he hesitated at the door, his heart pounding. Would Mia feel the weight of expectation he had placed on her? What if she stumbled? Doubts flickered like shadows in his mind, making him question the very thing he was fighting for. Taking a deep breath, he knocked softly. The teacher glanced up and nodded, urging him in. Jacob felt the warmth of the room wrap around him as the kids turned their eyes toward him with curiosity. Mia? He called, scanning the faces. He found her tucked in the back, her curls bouncing lightly as she shifted in her seat. The moment their gazes locked, he saw that spark he recognized so well, the fire of courage waiting to be ignited. Hi, Mr. Jacob, she chirped, her smile brightening the room. It deepened his resolve. Are we really going to talk about the event? Yes, Jacob replied with enthusiasm, kneeling down to her level. I wanted to see if you'd help me plan something special. It's your voice we need, Mia. You can help so many others when you share your story. Her eyes widened, reflecting a cocktail of emotions, excitement, disbelief, and a flicker of trepidation. But what if they don't want to listen to me? Jacob felt a tangle of emotions. What if they do? What if your words touch their hearts and change lives? Mia's brow furrowed as she thought. They'll probably laugh, she said, her voice small. No, Jacob countered gently. They might be moved. They might see themselves in you. You're brave, Mia. You're inspiring. You've got a chance to make a real difference. Her courage started to rise at the encouragement. He could see her weighing the options, slowly pulling together the threads of hope. Okay, but what do I say? She asked, biting her lip as if unraveling a secret. You tell them your truth. Share your journey, what it's like for you, the dreams you have, your struggles. People need to hear your voice. It could change everything for them, he urged, his own heart racing as he felt the gravity of her potential. The bell rang. filling the air with a symphony of movement as kids began packing their bags. Jacob noticed the mix of excitement and hesitation on Mia's face. "You can do this, Mia. I truly believe it," he assured her. As she blinked away the uncertainty, determination began to sprout like a fragile seed pushing through the soil. "Okay, I'll try," she said, her voice steadier now, filled with the promise of possibility. Jacob felt his heart swell. They had a plan, but it couldn't stop there. The stakes were higher than he had imagined. How to prepare the community, to prepare Mia for this monumental step? And could they create genuine momentum from her words? Walking back to his car, each step felt heavier, filled with urgency. He could see the path ahead, dim yet illuminated by the potential for change. This was only the beginning, but would they meet the challenges still lurking in the shadows? Flicking on the headlights, he thought again about that invisible weight. With fiery determination forming in his gut, he realized something profound. Finding a voice was just the first battle. The real test lay in sustaining that voice and carrying the message forward. Would Mia be brave enough to lead this charge? And would their small community rally behind her, ready to listen? The real journey was just beginning. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting an orange glow over the school, Jacob drove home, his mind ablaze with thoughts of Mia. The weight of the day pressed heavily on his chest. He could almost hear her soft voice echoing with doubt. What if they don't want to listen to me? He turned onto Maple Street, where the familiar scenery felt both comforting and heavy. He had seen these streets filled with families and laughter, where kids played and parents watched, unaware of the struggles simmering beneath the surface. But now, the question loomed. Would they listen when Mia spoke? His phone buzzed, breaking the silence. A message from his assistant flashed on the screen, reminding him of the upcoming meeting with the community board. He swiped at it, suddenly aware of the opportunity that loomed. His heart raced. This event needed to mean something. It couldn't just be another date on the calendar. Arriving home, Jacob sat in the driveway for a moment, contemplating. The walls of his house felt like they were closing in, reflecting his own uncertainty. Pulling himself out of the car, he walked toward the door, determination guiding his steps. He had to make her voice matter, to ensure her story would resonate with every soul in their small town. Inside, the familiar warmth surrounded him. The faint smell of dinner wafted from the kitchen as his wife, Claire, hummed softly, lost in her own world. He could hear the faint sounds of their children playing in the living room. It was a comforting juxtaposition to the storm of thoughts swirling in his mind. "Hey, love." Claire looked up with a smile, her eyes sparkling as they met his. "How was your day?" Jacob leaned against the doorframe, his heart lighter just seeing her. "It was significant, I think," he replied, looking for the right words. "I met with Mia. You know, the little girl I told you about? She wants to share her story at the event." Claire's brow furrowed slightly. "That's amazing. But are you sure she's ready for that?" "I hope so, but I need your help," he said, vulnerability creeping into his tone. "I want to create something that will empower her. We need to inspire the community to listen, to really listen." She stepped closer, her understanding gaze anchoring him. "We'll turn this into something special. Let us brainstorm what we can do. We can promote the event, get the word out in ways that matter." Jacob's heart raced at the thought of their combined energy and ideas. He sat down at the kitchen table, pulling out a notepad. "What if we involve the kids? Art projects, maybe a few performances leading up to her talk?" Claire nodded thoughtfully. "And we could feature stories from other kids as well. It could be a showcase of voices and events celebrating their resilience." As ideas started flowing, Jacob felt the spark of hope ignite again. These moments spent with Claire always filled him with renewed vigor. But deep down, the gravity of the work still loomed large. He felt a knot of worry about Mia as confidence, the weight of her potential for change rested heavily on his shoulders. Later, as the family gathered for dinner, laughter and chatter blended with the clatter of plates. Watching his children, Jacob felt a pang of urgency. They needed to know that their voices mattered, that their words carried weight. If Mia could find her strength, perhaps others could too. "This is bigger than just Mia," he mused aloud, thinking about the impact reaching far beyond the event. What if we could inspire change? Not just tonight, but for every child who feels overlooked? His family paused, considering the enormity of it. It was a possibility shimmering in the air. But just then, Jacob's phone buzzed again. Another message. He opened it and felt his heart drop. It was from the local paper, asking for a statement about the event, expressing interest in the story behind it. Suddenly, this wasn't just a hopeful gathering, it was starting to catch fire in the community. Whatever happens, we have to make it count, he told his family. Everyone nodded in agreement. What if this small event opened floodgates of conversation? Would they truly embrace Mia's message? The room buzzed with potential, but lurking behind it was that lingering question, could they manage the expectations that now hung in the air? Tomorrow was a day of planning, of reaching out, of preparing Mia for the spotlight. But tomorrow also held its own uncertainties. Would she stand tall? Would the community embrace her? His heart raced as he realized, in the battle for voices, tomorrow would demand courage more than ever. The morning sun broke through the clouds, casting golden rays onto Maple Street. Jacob woke up with a sense of urgency that pulsed through him like a heartbeat. Today was the day. He slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Claire, who lay peacefully beside him. He grabbed his phone, scrolling through the messages from last night, the words from the local paper still fresh in his mind. They wanted to hear from him. His stomach turned, gratitude mixed with fear. This was a chance to shine a light on Mia, to amplify her voice. But what if it all fell apart? What if her nerves got the best of her? He took a deep breath and pushed open the kitchen door, the smell of brewing coffee filling the air. The kids were already up, their laughter echoing through the hallway. Jacob watched them play for a moment, their innocence a stark contrast to the weight he carried. It reminded him why this event mattered so much. They were the future, the voices who would carry the message forward if he succeeded with Mia today. "Morning, Dad." His son, Ben, shouted as he darted past, a ball clutched tightly in his hand. Jacob grinned, ruffling Ben's hair. "Big day ahead. Got your game face ready?" Ben nodded, eyes wide with excitement. "Always." As Jacob poured a cup of coffee, Claire shuffled into the kitchen, nodding her hair lazily. "You look like you've got a lot on your mind," she said, her tone teasing but concerned. He took a sip, letting the warmth comfort him. "I do. I want to make sure Mia feels supported. We need to create an environment where she knows her story can change lives." Claire leaned against the counter, her nurturing gaze steadying him. "She will, Jacob. You've already made her feel special. Just trust in her." With a newfound resolve, they began making calls to the local schools, inviting students to submit their stories, art, and performances that reflected resilience. Each conversation felt like a step towards something beautiful, potential unlocked. Dreams turned tangible. Hours passed as they worked feverishly. The kitchen transformed into a command center, paper scattered, voices buzzing, excitement weaving through the sounds of their children in the background. At lunchtime, Claire placed 2 plates of sandwiches on the table and called everyone in. "We need to fuel up. Big show tonight." The kids raced in, scrambling to grab their food, laughter spilling over sweet moments. With each bite, the excitement in Jacob grew. These weren't just sandwiches. They were fuel for a mission that would highlight Mia's courage and shed light on all the unheard voices. Who would step forward? After lunch, Jacob zoomed over to Mia's house. He hopped out of the car, determination coursing through him. As he climbed the steps and knocked, he felt a mixture of anticipation and nerves. Mia opened the door slowly, her face lighting up when she saw him. "Mr. Jacob," she exclaimed. He smiled, taking a quick breath. "Hey, Mia, are you ready for today? We've got some magic planned." As they sat on the front porch, he took a moment to look at her. There was something profound in her eyes, a flicker of uncertainty intertwined with hope. "I know you're feeling nervous. It's okay," he reassured her. "But what if I mess up?" She swallowed hard, voice almost a whisper. Jacob leaned closer. "Mia, remember, it's your story. The truth is your superpower. You won't mess it up. You'll inspire." They chatted about her dreams, her hopes for her presentation, and just like that, the anxiety began to fade for both of them. Jacob saw the light rekindling within her, a shadow of the girl who had once doubted herself. As they wrapped up and prepared to leave, Mia looked at him, her small frame trembling with energy. "Do you think they'll really listen?" "I know they will," he promised, a surge of pride swelling in his chest. When they arrived at the venue later that day, the energy in the air crackled. The chairs were being set up, kids laughing as they decorated the space with colorful drawings. Jacob and Mia felt the building anticipation like a wave. But just then, Jacob's phone buzzed again. Another message came through, but this one was different. His heart sank. It was a warning from another board member, expressing uncertainty over the event. Suddenly, doubt crept in again. Would they truly embrace Mia's message? Steeling himself, he looked down at Mia, whose eyes sparkled with a flicker of fear. Whatever happens next, Mia, he began, this is your moment. And there's no turning back now. The weight of the truth hung in the air. Would they stand together against the tide of doubt, or let it drown out her voice? The auditorium buzzed with chatter as the community filled the seats, families, educators, and concerned citizens gathering for the event. Jacob approached the stage, Mia by his side, their hearts racing in sync. The world around faded, narrowing their focus to the moment ahead. This was bigger than both of them. This was about every child who had ever felt unheard. Jacob took a deep breath and stepped up to the microphone. The audience quieted, eyes wide and expectant. Thank you all for being here tonight, he began, his voice steady yet warm. We're here to give a voice to the voiceless, to share stories that have often been drowned out by indifference. He let his gaze sweep over the sea of faces, finding Mia's bright eyes uplifted with hope. As he spoke, he felt a swell of power building within him. He shared Mia's story. He painted a vivid picture of her school and the dreams that flickered behind every smile of the children yearning for change. As he spoke her name, the room sighed with compassion. I see their potential, and tonight, you will too. With that, Jacob stepped aside, and Mia walked to the front, small but fierce. The audience clapped gently, encouraging her, a wave of warmth washing over the stage. Hi, my name is Mia, and I am a student. Her voice carried a tremble, but she stood tall. The crowd leaned in, their attention wrapped around her like a cozy blanket. Jacob watched, pride swelling inside him. She began to recount her experiences, sharing fleeting glances at her classmates before diving into her words with newfound courage. Every syllable dripped with authenticity. I love to read, but we don't have enough books in my classroom. Sometimes, I have to share one with 2 other kids, she said, her big brown eyes reflecting every word she spoke. The audience was enraptured, their hearts resonating with her passion. The air around them shimmered with the power of her truth. I believe we can change our world if we believe in ourselves, Mia continued bravely. But we need your help to do it. When she finished, the applause erupted like fireworks, deafening and beautiful. Jacob felt an overwhelming swell of emotion. He watched tears shimmer in the eyes of those in attendance, even the skeptics who had once whispered doubts. Ray stood at the back, a proud smile stretching across his face, and Jacob caught his eye. A silent appreciation shared a bond formed in their shared vision for change. As the clapping faded, Jacob took a moment to absorb the energy in the room, the community leaning forward, ready for action. This is just the beginning, he declared, stepping back into the light. He laid out the plans: art programs, writing initiatives, mentorships, and community workshops. We're not advocates for these children, we're allies. Together, we create the path. Together, we move the mountain. The crowd erupted once again, this time with cheers, a sound filled with hope and determination. Jacob felt fortified. The tide was shifting, the voices of indifference crumbling under the weight of collective conviction. Afterward, as they mingled and shared ideas, Mia was surrounded by other kids, sharing their dreams and aspirations. Jacob watched as she glowed, the uncertainties of before washed away like the remnants of a storm. Each heartfelt conversation built a bridge of connection among the community members. Just before they left for the night, a woman approached Jacob. You have no idea how many lives you might have just changed, she said, her eyes brimming with sincerity. We need more of this. I want to help. And just like that, each interaction began to ripple out, spreading the embers of change far beyond this event. Finally, as they stepped outside, Jacob turned to Mia. You were incredible. You showed them your heart. Mia's face lit up with a radiant smile, full of relief and pride. I did it. Yes, you did. And you know what? So many kids now know that their voices matter too, he replied, wrapping her in a gentle hug. Underneath the stars, a whisper of hope floated in the air, filled with promise. Jacob felt a pull in his heart. Realizing this moment marked something truly profound. Their journey had only just begun. The path to change was filled with obstacles, but guided by Mia's strength, he knew they could overcome them. This was their commitment, the first chapter in a transformation for a generation. As the night closed, Jacob felt a renewed sense of purpose. They would return to this place, and it would become a beacon of hope, a testament to what was possible when communities came together to listen and act. The call was echoing louder than ever. Every voice counts. Every story matters. And with renewed determination, Jacob whispered to himself, "I'll keep fighting for Mia and every child out there." Now stand with us. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. We want to hear from you. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. This is the moment to rally behind a cause that truly matters.